Welcome to EssayEdge podcast, The Yellow Editor. EssayEdge is the leader in the field of editing services and has been more for than 20 years. Here at EssayEdge, we understand that crafting your admission doc is an extremely personal process. That is why our knowledgeable editors are helping you to create the perfect essay for your application without infringing upon your creativity and unique voice. My name is Kate, I'm the communication manager of EssayEdge, and today we're going to talk about the law school personal statement, its structure, things to avoid, and the best ways to showcase the qualities of a good lawyer. The law school admission process can be so confusing, scary, and overwhelming. A quality personal statement, an essay in which you articulate who you are and why you want to go to law school, allows an admission officer to understand your motivation to attend law school and the reasons why you want to attend their school specifically. Today, our experienced EssayEdge editor Bob will guide us through the whole process of crafting a winning law personal statement. Hello, Bob. I'm so glad to welcome you at our podcast show, and now I'm honored to yield the floor to you.
Hello, and welcome to the EssayEdge podcast on the topic of the law school personal statement. My name is Bob, and I've been a member of the EssayEdge editorial team since 2009. During the past 11 years, I've edited student application essays that span a range of subjects and disciplines. My particular area of expertise is applications for admission to law school. I've earned a JD degree as well as a PhD. As an EssayEdge editor, I've worked on many law school personal statements, and in this podcast, I'll provide you with information that you can use to write an exceptional personal statement, one that will help you to stand out among the vast number of law school applicants. My remarks will cover everything from why the law school personal statement is so important, to the structure of the essay, to recommendations and tips for law school applicants. I think that when you finish listening to this podcast, you'll feel more confident about your ability to write a personal statement that will go a long way toward ensuring your acceptance by the law school of your choice.
Thank you, Bob. I also hope that the suggestions we are about to highlight will help applicants become the students of their dream universities. So, let's begin. And my first question is the following. Why does the law school personal statement matter? And is it hard to get accepted to a law school?
The personal statement is the most important piece of writing that you can submit when you're applying for admission to law school. Why? For two main reasons. It gives you the opportunity to demonstrate your writing skills. The ability to write well, that is, with concision, clarity, and organization, is highly valued in law school and in the legal profession. And secondly, it allows you to write about yourself, your personality, the experiences that help to form who you are today, and your values. While a law school admissions committee will carefully look at your undergraduate GPA and your LSAT score, as well as your letters of recommendation, the committee will turn to your personal statement to get an idea of how you express yourself in writing and what you are like as a person.
So the content of your personal statement is that part that really matters. Okay, and what should the law school personal statement do?
To answer this question, I'll refer to what the University of Chicago Law School, which is one of the best law schools in the country, has written about the personal statement. The admissions committee, and this is true not only of the University of Chicago Law School, but also of many other law schools, mainly looks for two things in a personal statement. One, who you are. That is, are you thoughtful and reflective? Will you be an interesting addition to the law school community? And can you contribute a unique perspective to the discussion with your classmates and professors. The second thing that is looked for in a personal statement is your writing and communication skill. Can you express your thoughts in a clear, concise, and organized manner, which is what you'll be required to do in law school and later as a practicing attorney? So to answer the first part of question number 2, the personal statement should give the admissions committee a clear idea of who you are as an individual and not just as a student and test taker. And it should demonstrate to the committee that you know how to write well.
Okay, and is the personal statement important for an admissions committee?
The answer is that it is very important. Law school admissions committees consider the personal statement to be important because it deals with the essence of the legal profession, which is writing. The committee will assess your writing skills as evidenced in the personal statement in order to determine if you can logically develop your ideas and connect with your audience. But the committee will also be looking at something else. They will want to see what you value personally, professionally, morally, and intellectually. In other words, the personal statement reveals something that isn't found in a test score or GPA, who you are as a human being. This means that the best personal statements are just that. They're personal. Each applicant to law school has a unique personal story to tell. And if you can tell your story in a writing style that is clear, concise, and well organized, that's even better.
Thank you, Bob. And now speaking about the lawyers themselves. I understand that being a great lawyer requires a combination of high intelligence, strong analytical skills, ability to communicate your ideas clearly and effectively. And what is the best way to embody these qualities of a good lawyer in your personal statement?
Skill in written communication, that is, the ability to convey information and express ideas in writing that is clear, concise, and well organized, is extremely important for a lawyer. Your law school personal statement gives you an opportunity to demonstrate this skill. The quality of the writing in your personal statement will speak for itself. You don't have to use legal language or Latin phrases to show that you know what it means to be a lawyer. It's much better just to be authentic and tell your personal story in an interesting and genuine way. And you shouldn't try to demonstrate to the admissions committee how much you know about the law and what lawyers do. The personal statement isn't about lawyers and the lawyering process. It's about you. So, for example, it won't help your application to say that you like to argue. If you're able to write a personal statement that is interesting, carefully organized, and convincing, then you'll have embodied many of the qualities of a good lawyer.
This is so well said that the personal statement isn't about lawyers, it's about you. And what about the structure of a law school personal statement?
Like many essays, the law school personal statement should have a beginning, middle, and end, or conclusion. To lay out this three-part structure, you can begin with an outline, which will help to organize your ideas. The first part of your personal statement should, ideally, begin to tell a story or anecdote that is in some way related to you. It helps to keep in mind that an interesting story has characters and a setting, and is told with specific detail. Just to take an example, suppose you can remember the bitter smell of iodine in your grandmother's hospital room when you visited her for the first time after she was struck by a car while crossing the street. Now you might ask, what does this short anecdote about the smell of iodine in your grandmother in a hospital room have to do with your interest in the law? Well, the answer could be that you thought of becoming a lawyer because the random unfairness of your grandmother's injury, she was hit by a careless driver who had run a red light, fostered in you a desire to remedy injustice. And this desire for justice eventually led you toward a career in law. This example points to the middle of your essay, which is where you state a thesis, something along the lines of, here's why I'm applying to law school. For example, you decided to apply to law school and eventually become a lawyer in order to remedy injustice. You wanted to give a measure of justice to people like your grandmother who had suffered through no fault of their own. This part of the essay can also involve a brief discussion of your personal values, your sense of fairness, for example, and your devotion to family. And it can show how your life was transformed by that scene in your grandmother's hospital room. The third or last part of your personal statement is the conclusion, and that's where you tie everything together. The conclusion can often begin with a callback to the very start of your essay. For example, if it hadn't been for that bitter odor of iodine in your grandmother's hospital room, which brought home to you the seriousness of her injuries, you might not have been struck by the unfairness of her accident. You wanted to save others from a similar unfairness. The best way to accomplish this, you later decided, was to become a lawyer. So, to recap, your personal statement can be structured into 3 related parts: beginning, middle, and end. But it helps to remember that throughout the essay, you'll be telling a personal story. And in this story, you'll want to show how you changed over time. For example, seeing your grandmother lying injured in a hospital room transformed you. How? Well, it led eventually to your decision to apply to law school and become a lawyer.
Bob, as far as I know, the first paragraph is the most important one. Am I correct? And what should it begin with to grab the admission committee's attention?
Yes, absolutely right. The first paragraph of the personal statement is crucial because it provides the admissions committee with their first exposure to how you can write. So you want to make sure your first paragraph focuses on you and the story that you want to tell. This means that you won't want to begin your essay with a general statement, something like, the law has always fascinated me, or being a lawyer has always been my dream. In the example that I gave of the grandmother in a hospital room that smelled of iodine, a good way to begin your story might be something like this. When I was 16, my grandmother was hospitalized because of an automobile accident. When I visited her hospital room and saw her swathed in bandages that smelled of iodine, I had no idea that this scene would lead to my choice of a profession. But that room with its bitter odor stayed in my memory. 2 years later, as an undergraduate, I decided to become a lawyer, to bring justice to people who, like my grandmother, were injured through no fault of their own. Here, the first 2 sentences, the second sentence especially, provide the hook that grabs the reader's attention. So in the first paragraph of your law school personal statement, you should try to do 3 things. 1, focus on you. 2, begin to tell a story. And 3, provide a hook, that is, an image, phrase, or sentence that grabs your reader's attention. And as with the rest of your essay, you'll want to carefully proofread this first paragraph to make sure you have it right.
I believe that proofreading your essay is as important as the essay itself. Okay, and what about the body paragraphs? What information should the applicant include? Are, for example, my extracurricular activities, hobbies, and interests vital?
To answer your question, let's go back to what I said about the structure of the personal statement. Your essay should have three main parts: a beginning, middle, and end or conclusion. The body paragraphs will come after the beginning and before the conclusion. In these paragraphs, you can develop and expand on the story that you began to tell in the first paragraph. The initial body paragraph, for example, might be where you express a thesis that is at the heart of your personal story. In the grandmother hospital story, for example, you'd want to explain how the experience of seeing your injured grandmother swathed in bandages and lying in a hospital bed eventually led to your choice of vocation, which is to attend law school and become a lawyer. This movement in the direction of vocational choice is at the heart of your story. It shows how a particular experience led to change and growth in you. As for extracurricular activities, interests, and hobbies, remember this: your extracurricular activities will be included in your resume, and a cardinal rule in writing a personal statement is not to rehash the information in your resume. Having said that, however, I can also say that you might include extracurricular activities and interests in the body paragraphs of your personal statement if they in some way are part of the story about yourself that you're telling. For example, if after having decided in law as a career, you volunteered with a local legal advocacy group that was involved in helping elderly people, this volunteer work would be directly related to the story about your grandmother that began your personal statement. In other words, you're not just listing an extracurricular activity, you're organically relating it to the theme of your personal statement. So yes, extracurricular activities and interests can be vital, but only if they're relevant to your personal story. Remember, your extracurricular activities will appear in your resume, which will be carefully reviewed by the law school admissions committee.
Great. And speaking about the process of writing the personal statement, there are certain things that applicants should do, as well as common pitfalls they should avoid. So my question is the following: what things should be avoided when writing a law school personal statement?
Maybe the first thing that you want to avoid doing is using the personal statement as a platform for restating your resume. The admissions committee will carefully read your actual resume, so there's no need to repeat it in your personal statement. Instead, you should use the personal statement to tell the committee something new about yourself, something that can't be found in your resume, test scores, or even in your letters of recommendation. Another thing to avoid is listing your qualifications. Your accomplishments and qualifications will be apparent in other parts of your application, in your resume and letters of recommendation, for example. The personal statement should help the admissions committee get to know you as an individual. A third thing to avoid is a discussion of the law and the role of attorneys. With regard to your personal statement, prior legal experience is not a factor in admission. So you don't have to say what type of law you'd like to practice or demonstrate your extensive knowledge of the law. A fourth mistake is providing too much information in your personal statement. In other words, don't tell your life story. Too much information can result in a chaotic and unfocused personal statement. Stick to one small personal story that can be told with specific detail.
These are so great thoughts. Thank you, Bob. And my last question is, can you give some recommendations and suggestions for law school applicants?
Here are some suggestions for things to keep in mind as you prepare your application for admission to law school. 1. As I've noted previously, the law school admission process is very competitive, so you should apply to a wide range of law schools. The Law School Admission Council, or LSAC, will process your application through its Credential Assembly Service, or CAS, so it's relatively easy to apply to multiple schools. The website is lsac.org. 2. The Credential Assembly Service, CAS, will save you time and a lot of work. Have your academic transcripts and letters of recommendation sent to the LSAC, and the CAS will package everything for the law schools that you're applying to. 3rd, LSAC also has an optional candidate referral service, or CRS, which matches applicants who have specific interests with law schools that offer what the applicants are looking for. You can sign up for this through your lsac.org account. 4th, some other things to keep in mind. If you can, meet with the pre-law advisor at your undergraduate college or university. Register and prepare for the LSAT. Your grade point average, GPA, and your LSAT score are two of the most important factors in an application for admission to law school. Do some research about the law schools that you're applying to. If you're able to, try to meet law school recruiters in person. In the material that you submit as part of your application, you should emphasize your strong points. You want to let the admissions committee know what your strengths are. Although negative things may come up, for example, you may have dropped out of school for a year or two or even longer, you want to show how you were able to turn the negative into a positive. For example, the years that you were away from school provided you with real-world experience that you'll be able to make use of in law school discussions, projects, and papers. And finally, don't be discouraged by the competitiveness of the law school application process. If law schools admit 55% of applicants, tell yourself that you'll be among those 55%, and then submit the best application that you're capable of.
Thank you, Bob. The information I heard today made me consider writing a law school personal statement myself, since now I have all the keys for composing a good one. Dear friends, you can subscribe to our channel and make sure you do not miss the future shows. Also, please check our website www.essayedge.com for more information. My name is Kate, and it was the Yellow Editor.